for the second time today. I'm working overtime. This is not. I don't like this. I feel you guys should really start paying me more. I feel like I put a lot of work into this podcast and doing two this week. I mean, I really feel like I'm being stressed out, and I think you guys should pay me more. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm tapped out, but Jim's probably got a few quid he can throw you away.
I accept beer. Jim's just having none of it today. He is just such a grumpy guy. Jim, why are you such a grumpy guy?
I'm not grumpy. What makes you think I'm grumpy?
I don't know, your face.
All right, then.
I like your jacket. Those are pretty nice.
See? Good, huh?
How do I get myself one?
You don't.
Oh, well. Bummer.
Well, if you can't get one, then nobody can. You know that?
Well, yeah, it seems right. Everybody, let me know if you can hear me, because this is going to be a little bit of a test. We normally don't go straight from podcast to podcast, so I want to make sure that everything is going to work out just fine. I see that the comments from the previous one are still on there, so I guess if you're out there listening, make sure that you let me know if everything's working properly. So, Chris, how you doing, man?
Good, mate. How are you?
Doing good. You had a question that I thought might be of value on the podcast that we just got done with an interview with Karim. So what was your question?
It was just around the switch for, is it the CSI events and is it the BCA events as well? The switch to Predator tables?
Yeah. And you had asked me basically if we had discussed it much. And to be honest with you, I was intending on having a little bit more of a discussion on that, but I think for anybody who was, I guess, involved with the last podcast and listening to it, we talked a lot about the origins of Predator. And to be honest, I thought it was really interesting. We look at Predator as a company now that, of course, they're a Q company, but now they're also, selling balls, cloth, lights, chalk, tables, you name it. They kind of, they're kind of taking over a little bit of the industry as a sense. And I think it was really interesting to find out how it went from basically a company built on the 314 shaft to this global, I guess, powerhouse when it comes to running an entire pro tour. So we didn't get to talk nearly as much about some of the details as I would have liked to have, but we'll have him on again in the future and we'll talk more about the details of the stuff along the way. So I didn't want to cut him off some of the stories that he was telling, because I just thought they were really interesting. So in the future, we'll have him back on. I'm hoping to make it to the Canada Open for anybody that's going to be there as well. Maybe we'll sit down there and talk a little bit more about the details, but we didn't really discuss the 7-footers all that much, I guess, to answer your question. But yeah, I guess we don't have a ton to talk about today, so we're going to kind of maybe rant a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about the Ashton Twins Classic, of course, at the WPBA event. Kelly finally lost a match. Yay! And then she goes on to win the tournament anyways. I'm to the point now where, it's there's something charming about March Madness. And you guys don't know March Madness.
It's the basketball, right? College basketball?
Yeah. College basketball, yeah. So there's something charming about it because it's almost like you throw a bunch, you take a jar full of marbles and you just throw them on the floor, and it's just like that level of randomness. It just seems like that, but you always end up having the best teams. You have your Duke, your UNCs, your Villanovas, your Kentuckys that always end up rising to the top at the end of it. But there's something to the, I guess, the randomness that seems to happen during these events that makes them really charming, and. I'm almost rooting for all of the women alive in the world to beat Kelly. And it has, I love Kelly. Kelly is my favorite women player of all time. I absolutely adore Kelly Fisher, but someone's got to beat her. And Allison finally beat her in I believe it was the quarterfinals or the semifinals of the winner's bracket. And then Kelly comes back through the B side and Allison beat her for the chair. And then Kelly comes back through and beats her in the single elimination finals. So it's, I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that this level of domination is good for the sport, bad for the sport? Jim?
Is it good for the? I mean, Kelly is, you would say that the biggest name in the game, in the women's game, perhaps in the entire game, men and women, is Jeanette Lee. But then as far as the women come, she is, the two Fishers, those are, the top names after that, and Kelly just seems to have, since COVID was sorted out and everybody's got back playing again, she just seems to have hit the ground running. And it's almost like it never really had an effect on her. Maybe the rest are still trying to catch up and get back into the swing of things or whatever. And she's just taking advantage. And she's just snapping off tournament after tournament after tournament. But she is that good.
She's lost one match this year.
Yeah, but she is that good. But she's always been that good. But the rest were a bit closer, and they just seem to have fallen away slightly now. And it's, she's kind of almost got used to playing against the men and that being her target. And that's maybe pushed her to mentally to feeling, she's maybe she feels herself she's untouchable in the women's game at the moment. And with all the players from Asia, we know that there's a great number of very, very good female players in Asia, but they're not available just now. So now is the time for Kelly really to strike and to get those paychecks, and she's doing it. Fair play to her. Yeah.
So Jim, you've known her for a lot longer than I have, and Chris, you probably have as well. Do you think that she has maintained her level and everybody else has fallen off, or do you think that she has just improved to the point where she separated herself? And we're not talking like back to like the early 2000s, because well, maybe we are. Do you think that her level right now is even higher than it was in the early 2000s when there was a lot more competition with Jeanette Lee and Monica Webb and Alison Fisher, as well as, many others?
I don't know. I don't know. So I've only met Kelly, I think, once, maybe in person, just briefly said hello. And I didn't watch the women's game prior to maybe, I'll be honest, this year, really. So we don't have ESPN or anything in the UK. So none of the women's billiards was televised over here. Neither was the men's, to be fair. But it's hard. I couldn't say whether a level's better or not, but playing against the men. And if that, clearly as a goal is to probably get to like the last 16 or something of a major in the men's side, get on the TV. If that's her goal, then she's, going to far exceed everything on the women's tour. Probably she's just maybe expecting it to happen, but it's probably, it looks like it's just naturally happening through a level of performance. Mm-hmm. She's not scraping wins or anything like that.
Jim, what do you think on that?
I wouldn't necessarily say that her level has grown. I think she has an extra mental edge over the rest of the ladies now. She's almost achieved, goddess kind of status within the pool world. And the majority of her opponents now are the most dangerous ones are more of a younger generation who really, really do look up to Kelly, and they see her on a table and they think, they're not thinking about beating her. They're wanting a photograph and an autograph with her, kind of thing. That's they just want to get near to her and share a table with her. So she still has that aura for a lot of the younger players coming through, who, they are good enough, but maybe they just, playing against Kelly just is different, And,
the field that she played in the Ashton Twins Classic, she played in a completely different field in the Predator event in Europe. So, not all the women are coming together to play in the tournaments together all the time. Yeah. Kelly's going from one side of the pond to the other, clearing up and probably playing against half-strength fields. If you put everybody from both sides of the pond together, then that's different. But
and when you're dominating the way that Kelly is, you don't have the extra financial pressure and risk of doing all that traveling. For a lot of the players, they have to put out a financial outlay out there to go and travel to the States or from the States to Europe. And then it's a bit of a risk for them. Am I going to cash? Kelly's been doing so well at the moment, and she knows pretty much it doesn't matter where she goes in the world. If the money's there, she's going to pick up a big chunk of it.
Yeah,
that's just the way it is. She doesn't have that same, so she can travel and play in all the events. And like I said, the more events you play in, and the more you win, the easier it is to keep winning and keep playing.
And, and if we can, if we could be fair to the women's field, I think Kelly would agree with this. The two best women player in the world outside of China and Asia aren't allowed to play. Right? Christina Tkach, maybe they're not the two best, and Margaret Fifalova. Maybe they're not number 2 and number 3, but you're certainly not going to make a top, let's say, 7 list without those two being on it comfortably.
I would say Christina in any case, yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know. I don't know if Margaret's ready to be put in that list yet. I mean, really. I mean,
well, you're taking her.
You know, I mean,
right
she's
now
still very young. She hasn't actually taken part in that many events. You know, let's see her consistently get to semi-finals and finals of proper big tournaments. You know, we know that she's got 150 Belarusian championships and stuff like that. But I mean,
well, unfortunately for her, when she was really starting to come into her own and she was really starting to play at an incredibly high level, COVID hit, and then right once she's able to get back into the swing of things and play events. Ukraine hit, and now she's honestly, has anybody had a
But again, I mean, like everything else, we're kind of basing the best players in the world on the world minus Asia.
Yeah,
there's probably 20 Asian players that will make up the top 25. They're that good over there, and they're playing proper pool all the time, and they're playing against top class. So I think well, let's. Hopefully everything opens up again and the Asian players can start coming back like in the men's games has started to. And then
for the rest of
the world,
for the rest of the women, obviously excluding Asia, as we keep saying, for everybody else in the women's game, who's especially the younger women who are watching Kelly, how she's progressing, would it not be the obvious thing to do to just follow her around tournament to tournament? Everybody's got financial pressure, right? But if that is the pattern to follow to get better, you don't see. There's maybe a handful of the women enter themselves in the big opens that Matchroom do. Other ones, they get invites, which is cool. But, actually putting your own money down, putting the work in, getting yourself there, challenging yourself against, again, another different level. If that's the way Kelly's doing it, I don't understand why. Well, the blueprint's there, I think, for others.
Yep. But it's not just for the ladies, it's the same for the young players.
Yeah.
Up-and-coming players do exactly the same. Play these big tournaments, get that extra experience. It's the only way you can. It's the only way you're going to learn. It's the only way you can't just wait to play tournaments and just wait until you think you got a chance to win them. Because if you wait, you're not going to have the chance to win them. You got to get your ass kicked first, and learn the ropes.
There is something to that.
Yeah,
it's hard to have the cojones to play under the biggest lights if you've never played under the biggest lights, right?
Yep. You'll never know if you can do it or not.
How lucky are we to have somebody who dominates the game the way that Kelly is dominating it right now with the off the table stuff that Kelly brings? Like, she's incredibly smart. She's incredibly nice. She understands the bigger picture. She understands how to promote herself, not only herself, but the event that she's playing. Like, I'm thinking of this and like, what would happen if, let's just throw out a name of, somebody who has a bad reputation. Could you imagine it if Mike Duchesne was dominating something like a player with that kind of reputation? How lucky we actually are to have Kelly being the one that does this.
Maybe that's one of the reasons why things never progressed as well as they are. There are quite a lot of good ambassadors now for the game, aren't there? Lots of people that are, good speakers and good on TV, good commentators, good representatives for all the companies that sponsor them, and maybe that's one of the reasons why things are progressing so well.
It hasn't always been like that.
No, definitely not.
I mean, you can look at the rest of the people that are winning. Albin is, he's pretty quiet, but he's pretty smart, and when he does talk, like, he garners respect. I mean, he does the right things. Joshua Filler, again, kind of a quiet guy. He doesn't talk a whole lot, which is a big surprise to a lot of people. He's actually quite quiet on the when he's out playing, but he's so, we'll say, bolsterous when he's playing that everybody just thinks he's this super loud, obnoxious kid, and he's not. He's actually quite quiet, but he's very professional off the table. It's the best players that are coming through right now, and the players that are winning are representing the game in the exact way it's supposed to be represented, I think. And I can't even think of, I don't know, can you guys think of
you can look at it
someone who's not like that?
You can look at it both ways. You can turn around and say, we're lucky that the guys that are winning just happen to be professionals and represent the game in the good way and do the right things. Or is the reason why they're successful because they're professional and they do things in the right way? They behave themselves, They keep themselves fit. They do the right things when they're at the tournaments. You know, they don't get themselves in unnecessary conflict situations or whatever. You know, they're not.
So they're not getting hammered and like,
they're there to play.
Harassing the players while they're playing. Is that what I'm hearing, Jim?
That's what you're hearing. Yes. Where is he? Where is he this evening? Has he not joined us?
We haven't had our troll yet. That's a bummer.
Well, you can always see him because he doesn't have a profile picture. He just has a little letter at the side of his name.
Yeah.
I think I know who it is.
I think we do
these guys are doing things that, and they're showing. Hopefully, they're showing, and people are noticing that. You know, if you want to get ahead in this game and you want to be successful, that's the way you got to do it. You can't be a bad boy. You can't be an idiot. You can't. You know, you're not going to get anywhere. You might have you might be successful for a short period of time, but eventually it catches up with you. You need friends in this business, and you can't be on your own. You know, because it'll just drag you down. Yeah.
Makes it tough.
Yeah.
So I guess going through this, the Ashton Classic, Allison Fisher and Kelly Fisher play in the finals, I believe. This is the Super Billiards Expo Women's. I don't think that's I might be wrong on this, but I don't think that's a WPBA event. But Kelly played Jeanette Lee in the finals of that. Or not Jeanette Lee, sorry. Jennifer Beretta in the finals of that. Other than that, I think the last at least 3 WPBA events had Kelly versus Allison in the finals. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
It'd be good to see. Be good to see Allison playing in some of the events.
Yeah, if those two are the best and they keep getting to the finals, then what are you going to do about it? I mean, I don't know. You could do what they do in other sports and find some guy who says he's now a woman, and then stick them in, and hopefully, and then see if they win it.
Shut up, Tim. We're not going there.
Right at the moment, those two are just ruling the roost, and they're just robbing everybody. Yeah, they're just playing better than everybody. If they're playing better than everybody, they're going to win the tournaments.
Yeah. I guess it's the same thing that's happening in men's tennis right now too, right? Everything is being won by Djokovic or Nadal.
Yeah.
You know, and 3 years ago it was you know, you can throw Federer in there too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if these girls or ladies are so good that the others just can't catch up with them, then they're going to keep winning stuff. As simple as that. They're not doing anything. They don't have any extra advantage. They've worked harder throughout their careers, and they've given themselves a foundation and, you know, fundamentals that mean that they're going to have longevity within the game.
Yeah.
And their action's not breaking down. They've got the mentality. They've had the mentality all their career.
Consistent.
And they're consistent. Yeah. They're hard. They're tough. And they've got the fundamentals. You see the both of them. It's a beauty to watch them over a cue. It's a perfect photograph from all angles. How they stand over a cue. That action is not going to break down. So if you want to beat them, you're going to have to work damn hard, because they're not going anywhere. There's no reason for them to get anywhere unless their eyes fail them. And there's nothing going to happen. They're not going to get worse suddenly.
So I would assume that the reason that there isn't a ton of younger women coming through is that dead spell between, say, 2007 and 2019. You know, that stretch of 10 years where there just was nothing available. Why would it? You know, I played. That was right around the time that I played juniors, and I remember going back and playing with. You know, when I was going to the junior international events, there were a ton of women that played super strong, like very, very good. But all of them got to the point where, you know, we turned 21, 22, and we aged out of the juniors. And, you know, the next thing that you're looking at is the pro events, and there were no women pro events. And so at that point in time, what do you still have to play for? I can think of like probably 6 or 7 women that could be, you know, if they just kept on the same trajectory they were at, they would be at that, you know, 650 to 700 range, and they'd be competing with at least the top women players in the country. But there's just that dead spot for 10 years where there's just no reason to play. So unless you're internally motivated, which Kelly obviously is because she played all the way through COVID. You know, if you don't have that internal motivation, what are you playing for?
Well, there was never a barrier stopping the ladies playing in the men's tournaments, though, was there? Or was there? No? No. So, you know, I don't think it's any coincidence that some of the best ladies players mix it up with the men. I watched the other day, actually, a video on YouTube from a few years ago in Griff's in Vegas, and it was Mingchen practicing with Shane. So they kind of did sets over 3 days. So I watched all of that over a few days, and you kind of forget how good like she is. You know, watching it, like
she's insane.
Wow, like she's better than, I don't know. She's favorite against everybody apart from maybe the top 20 men. I don't know. It's like she's unbelievable.
Oh yeah, I remember when she played on the stream table at the U.S. Open, and she played. He's a player from Arizona, one of the top Arizona players.
Big fella, big guy.
Yeah,
Mitchellerby or something. Mitchellerman.
Yeah, Mitch Ellerman. Yeah, he played, and it was the third round on the A side, and I want to say Mingchen jumped out to a 2-0 lead, and Mitch looked like all happy, and he was cruising along, and I think he looked like he was having fun, and Mingchen jumped out 2-0 on him, and I think my memory is definitely failing, so don't actually check on this and prove me wrong, but I think it went 2-0, and then Mitch Ellerman got a game back, and then I think she blanked him from there. I think she beat him like 7-1 or something like that, and
yeah, it was racist to 11, but yeah.
Was it 11? This was the first year that Matchroom had it, so I don't know.
Yeah, it was 11s. Yeah, it was racist to 11, but I don't think it was close. I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she just drilled him, and it was the third match on the A side, and by the end of it, he looked like somebody just kicked his dog. I mean, he was drooped, and he's like a 770 Fargo. I mean, we're not talking about like an average player here. We're talking about like
he's played Mosconi Cup.
Yeah, Mitch Ellerman. That dude had a ton of talent. That dude could be, if he played the game like Shane played the game, like quantity of time, he would be an 800 Fargo. I mean, he is that good, and she made him look just helpless. I mean, she is a real player. It's actually, I mean, it's really sad to not be able to see them now for going on 3 years.
Yeah. It's a bigger gap in the ladies' game than it is in the men's game. The Miss in Asia, where people talk about all the great Asian players, but there's still a lot of other great players around. The Asian players missing from the women's game. It does leaves a bigger hole, in my opinion, in the game.
Yeah. But I mean, part of the conversation I just had with Karim before this was, Predator is making an emphasis to make sure that the women get their shine in their events as well. So, maybe this is the start of, how great would it be if you are a woman coming out right now, like Savannah Easton or there's a ton of women that are coming up right now, and I guess I probably shouldn't just say some of them, but they're that next generation of players that are coming through right now. By the time that they age into 18, 19, 20, it wouldn't surprise me a bit if they go straight to the Pro Tour and they're making 60 to 70,000 a year comfortably with the best players in the world, just because the opportunity is there, assuming everything continues the way that it's going.
Well, that's what we're hoping for, isn't it? Yeah.
Going to take a lot of hard work. You can't.
Well, you don't get. Very few people get $60,000 plus a year without doing some hard work. Regardless of what you're doing. If you want 60 grand, you're gonna have to do. You're gonna have to do some work.
But yeah, I mean, but looking at this WPBA field, I'm not trying to like denigrate it and say that there's not great players in here, because of course there are. But if you look at this WPBA field and there's 64 players in this field. I would venture to guess that less than 5 of them are full-time players.
Yep.
Kelly, Allison. I believe Emily Duddy plays full-time. I don't know.
Again, you throw money into the pot, and that number will increase.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's my point. Is these juniors that are coming through right now
to make a career out of a sport. You can't make a career out of a sport if you have to win all the time. It needs to be enough to be consistent and placing consistently. And if players think that if there's enough money in it where you can profit by being last 16 in tournaments, then you start getting a large number of people that are playing, because then the risk and reward is there. And if you do end up snapping off a tournament, then boom, that's made your entire year and you're set. But you want to be continually making sure that, if I get 16 or better, then I'm going to make a little bit of money. And that's where it has to be. And the game's not really there yet in the women's side of it. But if it does get there, then watch that number of pros increase. Yeah, because then it becomes worth making it a career. You can't be depending on winning all the time, because that's just nobody. Yeah. There's only one person that can do that. So everybody else loses.
Everyone's playing for second place,
and at the moment it's Kelly Fisher. So yeah.
But I mean, I know obviously April, but April's not in this field, right? April's a full-time player, but she's not in this field. Yeah. If you just take this field of 64 women, I don't know that you can name 5 players in here that is playing full-time. I don't think that exists. And these women that are coming out, like, for example, like I sponsor Bethany Tate with Onboard Sportswear. She's 16 years old. If she continues working pretty hard and gets up to, the 600 Fargo range, she's going to be able to come into a field as a full-time professional player, if she wants to do that, of course, and play against a bunch of women who are 9 to 5 and play pool recreationally. I mean, that's a huge advantage.
Yeah, massive.
Mm-hmm. I think that with the WPBA, revamping their schedule, as well as Predator throwing hundreds of thousands of dollars into the women's sport, I think it's in a pretty good spot right now.
All depends what you want. Those 9 to 5 players that do it recreationally, they're not dependent on it to make a wage, so they're just enjoying themselves. They're not dependent on it to feed the families. If you go all out, you go all out. Then you've got to start winning. And it can be a massive burden, and it has been for all. We all know it has been for a lot of players in the past. Being their only source of income playing pool. I wouldn't want to have that. That sounds horrible, to be honest. Because it's such a brutal game where things can just a roll of a ball can make the difference between being skint or being able to go to the next tournament. It's just crazy.
Looking at Matt Poland's statement, like I don't think that happens in 4 or 5 years from now, though. Like, what happened to April? I don't think April would even entertain that. Let's say a year from now, I don't think April's going to entertain playing in all these side events if there's going to be 12 WPBA events. Good and darn well that if April's in one of these fields, she's a favorite to get certainly top 7, 8 in every single one of these. I don't know what those other sponsors are paying her to where, she decided that the WPBA wasn't going to be a good option for her. But, if she $2,000 is 7th, 8th in this event, $2,900 is 5th, 6th. She could easily get 4th, 3rd, or even 2nd or 1st in one of these events. And now you're looking at like $5,000 to $10,000. I don't think April's. I mean, I'm completely talking out of one side of my mouth because I have no idea, but I can't imagine April's sponsors that created this entire situation are going to be giving her that kind of money. To where
her sponsors don't want her to play. Her sponsors don't want her to play.
So essentially, what the situation was she signed up for, or she put a face out there on Facebook, basically saying like, "Hey, I'm looking for sponsors. These are the events that I'm going to be playing in. This is what your marketability is going to be with all these events." And some of those events weren't WPBA because WPBA only had a couple of scheduled events. And then they came out with a schedule of 9 events, 10 events, something like that. I mean, I'm making up a number. I'm not really sure on that, but it was a full schedule, and not a full schedule, but it was a good, healthy schedule worth of events. And the player contract with the WPBA basically says that if you're playing in WPBA sanctioned events as a top 16 player, which April is, you can't play in these other side women tournaments, their events. So basically she's like, well, I already made a commitment to my sponsors that I was going to play with this. This is kind of what I was doing. And this is why they are, in there with me. So it's, yeah. I mean, I don't think that April is even contemplating getting other sponsors if that's, at least with that expectation. I mean, basically she's saying I'm going to be playing in these events right here. These are the 12 events that I'm going to be playing in. Maybe you don't have to play in those side events if you have, she's playing in all these other events to basically make, to maybe make four $4,000 or $5,000 in all of them combined. I mean, it's not like she's making $6,000 for each one. If she wins it, she's making $1,000, $1,500 maybe.
What events are there? Is it a rival women's tour or something?
No, it's just like Texas Open women's division is like an example of one of them.
But Kelly can go and play in any tournament she wants, right? And she's playing in the WPA. What's stopping April from going?
She can't. Well, no. Kelly can't play.
Okay.
Kelly can't play in women's event, outside women events either.
Okay.
Like the regional ones. Like she can play. Kelly can play in all the open events that she wants. It just can't be women's open events or something like that.
And the Predator women's events are part of the WPBA, or they're separate?
Partner.
They partner. All right, got you. Yeah.
So I mean, I guess if Predator's going to add to the schedule, they just announced that they're bringing back the women's World 10 Ball Championship, as well as an entire 12 WPBA events. Maybe if you're adding all these events, do you really have to go to all the smaller ones? I don't know. I mean, it's not a question for me. I shouldn't be counting other people's money, but it just seems like if you're adding to these schedules and have all of these events that have $10,000 as first prize and $1,000 for 13th through 16th, which that's break even at best. So it's not like you're making any money out of that. But I don't know. I don't know. I think that regardless, I guess my broader point is there's actually some argument that could be made that maybe this is okay, and you don't have to.
Maybe it is.
Yeah.
Maybe it is. It just seems crazy that if April's like the best young female prospect in the States, she's not going to play in any of the biggest women's events. That just seems crazy.
Well, to be honest, like she might be the best women's player in the country right now.
But maybe, if the WPBA want to do things like that, maybe they should have a cutoff point age-wise. So say up until 25, you go play in anything you want, anywhere you want, get as much experience, go play Saturday tournaments down at your local club or Texas or whatever the hell that thing is. And at a cutoff point, then you've got to commit to doing one thing or the other. But restricting a young player like that from playing just seems crazy from the outside looking in.
Well, the idea is you're trying to create an exclusive event that this is the only place that you can see these women, right? So,
Yeah.
The NBA has, we're seeing this play out right now with the PGA and the Live Tour, right? The PGA wants to have exclusive rights to all of these players because these players are what makes the PGA special.
Mm-hmm.
And now that we're seeing the Live Tour come in with the Saudi Arabian money, we're seeing all these defectors, and there's going to be some huge shakeups in golf. But that's essentially the idea: is you want to create an exclusive tour style event where this is the only place that you can see these women players, and that's what gives not only the players that level of I guess exclusivity, but the tour that they all decide to play in together is essentially that's the thought process that's behind it. So with that being said, like I mean, all of this started with basically the conversation of this. There's some real stuff happening, not only for the women but for the men, and I don't know. It's pretty cool to see, I guess.
I got the WPBA. So the women get told, you play in our events, you play in no other events, correct?
Not exactly that, but
are they getting paid a wage?
No,
right. So, in my opinion, if you want them to exclusively, basically work for you, basically create viewership for you, they're saying we want to create an exclusive group of players that can only be seen at our events. Okay, fine. Then pay me. Don't make me, I want a minimum and then bonuses for winning matches, because I'm creating viewership for you. The whole idea of you having me and having me exclusively is that if people want to watch me play, they're going to pay you in order to watch me. I want part of that as a minimum. Yeah. And then, because the only reason my job can tell me, the only reason my work can tell me that I'm not allowed to do another job is because they pay me to do the job. If they were to turn around and say, well, we're going to have the same rules, but I'm not going to pay you anymore, I'd be like that. I'm out of here. See you later. You can't tell me what to do if you're not going to pay me.
At the end of the day, I mean, this is the exact thing that's happening right now. Like I said, with golf, with the
no,
lift
it's
tour,
not. But what's his name?
This is exactly what's happening.
Dustin Johnson got given a handout of so
$120 million. Yeah,
120 million just to join, not to play. Yeah, that's different. Yeah. Just to be part of the group, he got given a one payment. If they want to do that to pool players. Correct. And say, okay, here's 20 grand to cut. Here's 20,000. Come and join and play our events. Okay, then you can turn around and say, okay, now you have a right to tell them.
Jim, this is my exact point. The PGA doesn't pay their players either, and we're seeing this play out. Now, I'm not taking a side on this. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that this is what's playing out right now with golf. The PGA doesn't play their
players, but the PGA offer them they offer them the only way to win money. They only get sponsorship because they're playing for the PGA, which gets them on television, which gets them sponsorship.
No, there's other tours. No, there's other tours. Like there's the web.com tour that they partner with and stuff like that. There's other golf tours that are out there. But the point is like
it doesn't get the same media coverage.
Well, that's not the same. Well, that's my point. Is like the PG or the WPBA is there's other women's tours out there too. The WPBA is basically saying you can't play in any of those, which is, the PGA does too.
And look what's happened to them. They're about to lose all their best players.
This is my point. Like this is my point.
You know,
and now the live comes in and they decide, all right, well, your players aren't very happy. We see a marketing opportunity here. Hey, Dustin Johnson, come over here. Well, let's talk. We're here. Have $120 million. Just say you want to play in our event. Bryson DeChambeau just went over there. Brooks Koepka just went over there. Like there's a lot of players that are leaving the PGA Tour to play in this event because they're doing exactly what you're saying. I'm not saying that the other way is right or wrong. I'm just saying like this is what's playing it out. And I do agree exactly with Seth. Like the PGA has been strong arming the golfers for a long time, and maybe the WPBA is strong arming their players too, and maybe Predator decides in the future, like, hey, WPBA, you're holding us back. We're just going to take your players from you and give them the same offer that you just said, Jim. Maybe they offer them $10,000 a year just to play in their events plus whatever they make.
If they want to do that, they want to sign a contract and say, listen, you come and play for us. You play only for us, exclusively for us. We'll guarantee you all these events and you can win this money. And we will and here's a paycheck, boom, 10 grand, whatever. Yeah. And if the player decides to take it, they take it. Then that's an employer-employee contract. That is where you make an agreement to represent that tour and only that tour. And if you decide not to do it, you decide not to do it.
Yeah. Okay. I don't necessarily disagree with you. There's a very real argument that you could make that April Larson is the best women's player in the country right now. I don't know that you win that argument, but you could make a very serious argument that she is the best women's player out there. I mean, who else could be that for the U.S. women? I mean, Jennifer Beretta, absolutely. I mean, you're probably going to win the argument if you take her. But past that, is there a clear player who is definitely better than April Larson, hands down? And we don't get to see her. You know, when was the last time you watched April Larson play? She played at Dunsky Dungeon.
Dunsky's Dungeon, I think it was last time.
A challenge match against some female player from Florida who I'd never heard of before. That was the last time we've seen her. Brittany Bryant's, isn't Brittany Bryant from Canada? Isn't she living in? I think she's living in Canada. I think Brittany Bryant is from Canada. Gord, you're from Canada, so you would know. I mean, I think she's a Canadian player though. So, but I do think that the Brittany Bryant would be a better player. I mean, Brittany Bryant played super strong.
Yeah. But anyway.
Yeah.
How about Niels Feijen winning another Euro Tour?
Yeah, we can move on. We can move on. Let's move on to the Euro Tour.
Yes, Niels.
and in some dominating fashion. He
smashed it.
Francisco Sanchez Ruiz 9-4 in the finals. He beats Oliver Solnacki 9-4 in the semifinals. Beat Victor Zielinski, one of the hottest players on earth right now. Beat him 9-8 in the quarters. Beat Eklund Kachi 9-6. You're talking about some real players like that. That is, I mean, you're never going to have a cushy draw when it comes to the final 32 of a Euro Tour, but Eklund Kachi, Victor Zielinski, Oliver Solnacki, Francisco Sanchez Ruiz. The only player you're missing out of that maybe is like Albin or Josh, and Albin doesn't really play the Euro Tours, but
And Josh
That's
got
about
beat
as
by
tough as it
Sanchez
gets.
Ruiz.
Yeah, that's about as tough as it gets.
Yeah.
Good for Niels. Number 11 passes him past Nicky Vandenberg.
Yeah, one past Nick. I don't know how Nick feels about that. I'm sure he's fine with it. I'm in a WhatsApp group with loads of guys from Holland from Plan B, the club in Amsterdam, Jim. You've been there? Yeah. But I think they were all talking in Dutch in the group chat, but I think Nick was getting a bit of ribbon for Niels overtaking him.
No, Nicky probably didn't even know he was on 10 until Niels got 11. I don't think Nick's the kind of guy that puts his cups up on a shelf somewhere and counts them every day. I don't think he even knows. I don't even knows where his cups are. I don't think.
So, do you guys think that this does anything for Niels as his career? Do you think this adds to anything, or do you think it's just another one of those 17th paragraph of the wiki page?
It's a great boost moving into the second half of the season. He'll be full of all sorts of belief and confidence now. I'm not sure he's ever really lacked it deep down, but I think he said a few things and kind of bits and pieces about maybe not quite being there at the level he wants to be. But if he can win against all those guys, then going into the second half of the season, you definitely wouldn't put it past him winning one of the events.
I think I've spoken to Niels quite a lot over the last years, you would say. And we had a conversation about Mosconi Cup last time after the last time he played in Mosconi Cup, and he was a bit down and he felt a bit disconnected, and that there's a new generation coming through, and he felt like the old guy, and there's a new atmosphere within the Mosconi Cup, and he likes to stay very much within his own little focus, in his own tunnel vision kind of thing, and it's quite difficult to do. And I think with the injury that he had as well, I think there was part of him that probably wondered whether or not whether he could ever really get back to the top of the game in Europe, and a victory like this will just make him feel like he can. I know he's fiddled with his equipment. He's playing with the carbon shaft now. He's got the carbon Longoni on his the Luna Nera or whatever it's called. And he's really, really happy with it. He feels like it's given his game a new dimension, and he's stroking well. I think maybe took a little bit of time for him to get used to it. He had a couple of poor tournaments last year or so, but he played really strong. I watched quite a few of his matches in that Euro Tour, and it was like the old Niels kind of thing. And those tables were playing really funky as well. The weather there got a bit warm, and I think it rained maybe one day, and it got quite humid in there. And those dynamic tables do tend to get very, very bouncy when it gets humid. And he handled it. He's just mentally as strong as he's ever been now, I get the feeling. And it was the old Niels, and it was really. But you see what it means to him. It seems to me every tournament he wins now, as he gets older, the reaction and the emotion is more and more. And I think he's just enjoying winning. I think at the moment, because I think as you get a little bit older and you watch all these beasts coming through, the fillers and the catches, Jason, maybe not so much, he's not playing in Europe, Federer and all those guys, when you see those guys coming through, you think, am I going to win another one? Yeah. So to do it, you must be absolutely delighted. And I think you're right. Give him a good boost. It's a good time as well. There's some big tournaments coming up, the European Open coming up. Then he'll go over for the US Open, the International Open. So it's a busy period. This is where everything gets sorted out for the rankings for the end of the year and for Mosconi Cup and stuff like that. So he's put himself in a strong place mentally, and let's see if he can kick on from here the next couple of tournaments. Who knows? He snaps off a US Open, he's in Mosconi again.
Yeah.
So was that from nowhere? You would say, really?
Yeah.
I mean, you would
I don't. Well, I suppose you. I don't. Do you think so?
Do you think he's in Mosconi? Do you think he's in Mosconi if he wins the US Open?
Well, let's put it this way. I don't know what the money
get above him on the money list.
Well, Joshua Filler's still going to be above him in the money.
It'll be Filler, Albin, and Niels. They've won the 3 tournaments that have been 60 grand.
Well, Francisco Sanchez Ruiz is going to be very, very close to that.
Yeah.
No,
it's going to be interesting.
Not anywhere near 60 grand.
Well, right. Well, what happens if he beats Francisco Sanchez Ruiz in the finals? You don't think that FSR can get to the finals?
Is it not 60-30? So they'll
Probably.
be close. They'll be round about that area then together. Yeah.
So who do you like from here to the rest of the year to make more money outside of the U.S. Open, right? The only thing I'm saying is like Niels would have to win that, and it still could be Albin, Josh, and FSR that lead the money count.
I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
All right. How do you not give him a wild card then? I mean,
that gets to my point of the wild card, right? Like Jason has to have one of the wild cards locked up, right? You would think. And then we just had a discussion last week about David Al-Qaidi getting the second wild card.
No. Or possibly Fedor, right?
No. Or Fedor, right?
Depending on his situation. But look,
this is the problem with Europe, right? Is there's a million people that they're all deserving.
Yeah, and if Niels wins the US Open and he doesn't get in, then he's hard done by. There's no question. But that's the level of competition. So
now Kazakis won the Masters last year and didn't get in.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing.
It really doesn't. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter as long as one of Shaw, Filler, or Albin, as long as one of those guys makes the top three on the money list, Laley's job is done. There it is. It's done because he's too. It is because Albin, Shaw, and Filler are on the team. I'll bet my left testicle that Albin, Shaw, and Filler are on the team as long as one of them makes the top three on the money list. I'll go with FSR to get in, and I think spot 5 is up for grabs. If somebody gets in on the money list, I think that obviously they're in. Yeah. If Albin and Phil are in the money list, then it wouldn't surprise me if it's Al-Qaeda because FSR is already there. But really, it's those three. FSR, I've got to say, he deserves it now. He's either in the finals or he's winning tournaments. It's just crazy how far he's just going deep every single time. He's coming out early. It's just amazing the consistency. He's on fire. He's up here with his confidence. Get him in the team. This is the year to get him in. You know, I'm all for that. And if there's a spot for Al-Qaidi, his best mate, just for that comfort feeling, and obviously for them being World Cup of Pool champions playing the doubles, yeah, why not? But Albin, Jason, and Filler, that's.
Yep. Well, going back to Niels, I mean, to be honest, I wish this event was 1 week earlier. Because for full disclosure, we did voting for the BCA Hall of Fame last week, and I voted for 2 players on the ballot. And I thought the most deserving person, personally for me, was Niels. And of course, I voted for Niels, and I voted for Dennis. Dennis Arcoyo is getting in, as well as Jerry Bryseth. But that is not for the greatest player. So Dennis Arcoyo was voted in. I don't know exactly where the voting ended up as far as the numbers, but I think that Niels, if this happened 2 weeks ago, would that have been enough of a bump to get him over Dennis? I don't think so. I don't think
it's just
I don't think so.
It's a state of execution. Both of them are always going to be in it. 10 years from now, they'll both be wearing the green jacket at somebody else's Hall of Fame. There's one year that the spot's already guaranteed. I think that's probably next year. Is it Shane next year?
I think it might be. He's either 38 or 39 right now.
I think I calculated 2023 would be his year. So he's in, but there's 2 every year. So maybe him and Niels, or it's somebody else from within the coaching side of it.
Not 2 of every year.
No, I thought it was 2 sports.
No, and I'm blanking on what the name. Let me it's something service. And I need to figure out exactly what it is so I could not butcher it.
Okay, so 2024 then.
There's one player that's guaranteed in every year, unless 2 players get over 75% of the votes. Yeah, meritorious service. Thank you, Matt. The meritorious service.
2 players get more than 75% of the votes.
Well, meritorious service is what Jerry got voted on. That happens once every other year. And how that works out is one player gets nominated, and then it's a simple yes or no vote as to whether or not they get inducted into the Hall of Fame. So they need to get an X percentage of people that vote yes, and if they get that threshold, they are going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame as the meritorious service. The voting outside of that, you can vote for as many people as you want, or as few as people as you want. So, like I said, I voted for 2 people and 2 people only for the Hall of Fame. Dennis and Niels. So theoretically, if there's 100 votes, and there's not 100 votes. I think there's a total of like 43 or 44 people or something like that vote, that have a vote, I should say. Of those 44, if 75% of them would vote for both Niels and Dennis, then they would both get in.
Is that what happened with Appleton and Jeanette Lee then, when they both got in at the same time?
So it's happened twice in history where it's only happened twice where two people got inducted in 1 year. I think it was Johnny Archer and Jeanette Lee. I think they got in the same year, I think.
No, Johnny Archer was in way before. I was at Jeanette Lee's, and it was just okay.
All right. So for Darren, okay. So there was
Barry Hearn got inducted the same night as well. I think it might have been Gillette. Have I been at two of them? Maybe I've been at two of them.
Yeah, Barry Hearn was just 2 years ago. I'm pretty sure Barry Hearn was just 2 years ago that he went in. But anyways, Johnny and another player this is why we need to have Pinozzo here today, because but that's how that works out. So yeah, I don't think that this would have been the deciding factor for enough people to get him up to past Dennis, but I think that Niels is absolutely Hall of Fame worthy, not only for what he's done on the pool table, but everything that he's done off the pool table. I mean, you ask probably, if you took a poll of every single European player under the age of 24, let's say, who their favorite player is or who they looked up to the most, like 60 to 70%, I would guess, is Niels. All of the European players that are young idolized Niels. Mm-hmm. Niels and Ralph is basically it. Some people, of course, if you're from England, it's Darren, but the guy's a consummate professional on and off the table. He's an absolute grinder. He's everything that you want in a player, and I think that you get bonus points for that.
Niels is in. Niels will be in. It's a matter of time before Niels gets in. Simple as that.
It's either next year or the year after that. I think it's if next year is Shane's year, then it's possible he goes in with Shane. It's possible. I know he's going to get my vote every single year. He's going to get my vote every single year. And of course, when Shane gets in there, if that's not unanimous, then whoever doesn't have a vote needs to or whoever has the vote that didn't vote for him needs to have their vote pulled. I mean, it's just silly. I mean, I know there's like this thing in baseball where like it's until Mariano Rivera, there was never a unanimous first ballot baseball Hall of Famer, because like they just did it basically based on principle. And I think that if you're voting anything based off of principle, you need to have your vote pulled. I mean, that's just stupid. Like, they're either worthy or they're not. Like, don't do this whole like, well, we got to make them wait 5 years because that's what tradition is. That's bump tradition. If they're worthy of if they're worthy of being a Hall of Famer, put them in the Hall of Fame, because you never know what might happen. I mean, Kobe Bryant Bryant died not being a Hall of Famer, right? I mean, that.
Yeah, okay, but
it's different if it's 5 years after you retire. I get that. But what happens if they didn't have that, and Kobe Bryant could have went in the first 5 years and then died and wasn't able to be there? I mean, that stuff just, you're either a Hall of Famer or you're not. I don't like the idea of making somebody wait for an honor that they've already earned. But that's neither here nor there. So yeah, I guess let me actually look up what Shane's age is to see if he goes in next year.
He's in next year.
Well, is he 38 or 39? Because you have to be 40 to be on the ballot.
No, I'm gonna say he's 39 then.
He's 38 July 14th. So he's about to turn 39. So he will not be on the ballot next year. Wait, I guess I shouldn't say that. Because I don't know if it's 40 as of the time of the banquet or 40 as of time of the voting. Because the banquet he will be 40, the voting he will not be 40. So I don't know. Again, we need Pinozzo, I guess.
Just give him it, god damn it. Yeah. Might as well give him two of them. Give him 2 green jackets.
Yeah, you could. So I don't know. Pretty awesome for Niels. It's good to see. I mean, Ralph won one of the Euro Championships. Niels won one of the European Championships and a Euro Tour. I mean, it's good to see that the players are still, grinding.
Yeah, no, it's great. Brilliant. Love it. Yeah. Love seeing these old guys showing that they still do it. Yeah. Yeah, Gordon Kerr's in there. Yeah, 2013, Barry Hearn and Jeanette. I was at that one, and I was at Appleton's in 2015 when he was voted along with somebody else. Don't know who it was in 2015 that Appleton was voted with. Both of them happened in Vegas. Yeah, during the Mosconi Cup. Yeah.
I mean, I got to look it up, but you sure that...
No, you don't. You don't, because I can remember it. 2013. Barry Hearn and Jeanette.
The 2015. Are you trying to say that was the 2015? Was that a meritorious service, or was that a greatest player award?
That was Appleton getting the greatest player, and then somebody else. 2017. I'm getting told now. I don't believe that. Was it 2017? Could be.
Yeah, Appleton's not 47, is he?
2015 was Charles Usides. 2015.
Okay, Appleton 2017 along with somebody then.
2014 was Oliver Ortman. 2014 was Mika Immonen and Jose Perica. Jeanette Lee went in 2013 by herself.
No, with Barry Hearn.
Well, I mean, in the greatest player.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said that she went in with Darren.
I knew two of the three were together.
Darren went in 2017.
With who?
With Tom Rossman. But Tom Rossman was meritorious service.
Okay. Yeah.
So you were wrong again.
I was very drunk on both of them. I can show you photographic evidence of me.
No, we believe you.
Dancing around in Darren Appleton's green jacket.
I mean, we've heard your stories. We've heard your stories where you get drunk and you just heckle people. We know this.
Oh God, it's so overrated. Some people just overreact.
Isn't it fun?
Anyway, I've got to go and give a bottle to a baby.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess we don't really have anything else that we needed to discuss today. It's a pretty slow week as far as news. We could give a shout out to Ina Copland too, who won the Women's Euro Tour.
Well done.
Go, Ina Copland. We like Ina Copland here. She beat Bojana Saric from Serbia 7-1.
Yeah, never heard of her. She's obviously a good player.
Down too.
Greg, yeah. I'll only be a heckler if you're playing. You get yourself into that Mosconi Cup. I'll show you what heckling is.
Oh my God. I don't know.
Hey, he's on there. He's up there. He's like fourth on the money list. Greg Hogue at Mosconi Cup for Team USA. Bring it on, baby. Red Garden. That'd be classic. That'd be brilliant.
All right.
Nate, you've gone quiet.
I love Greg. Greg, I'm sorry. I don't want to see you in the Mosconi Cup. I love you, man. I do. I love you. You're a great player. You're an awesome player. Well, actually, you know what? I do want to see him at the Mosconi Cup.
He might bring that.
I do want to see him. Never mind. I withdraw that because why not?
Why? You know, you never know. You might give them that extra spark that they need.
You can't play worse than Corey Deuel.
You know, he's a patriot. He'll be waving the flag. He'll be jumping around and screaming, singing all the songs. Everybody, why not get him in there?
F you, Hams. You did it. You know, he won the Sandcastle Open. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
You are playing good.
There's only two American players that have won a ranking event.
Shane and Greg Hogue.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Why not? Get him in there. That'd be brilliant.
Yeah. Don't worry, I'll sit next to Jim and whenever he tries to heckle you, I'll just I'll just reach over and slap him.
Bollocks to that. I'm gonna go over and sit beside Greg.
Greg, I'll be your coach. We're gonna crush it. F you, man.
Good. I'm out of here. I'm gonna go and feed a baby. Guys, love you. Speak to you later.
Okay. We're gonna get
Greg Hogue for Mosconi Cup.
Greg Hogue for Mosconi Cup.
See you later, mate.
All right, we'll get out of here too. All right. Thanks everybody for watching.
Take it easy.
We'll see.